Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is September 12th, 2025, and I have good news in regards to Marc Bernal. Also, I have an injury update in regards to Gavi as we continue to track the situation with his knee. And finally, UEFA has lifted their ban. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and this is the Barca News Live podcast, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering questions, and getting the discussion going. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. And by the way, I know I always say this. Chapters in the timeline, timestamps in the description. And this is important. Why? Because last podcast on Wednesday, YouTube was not processing the podcast. So even though I entered the timestamps, they did not appear on the timeline. However, they were present where? In the description. And despite that, people were asking me in the comment section, Mo, what about the timestamps? Mo, what about the timestamp? And that's why I say chapters in the timeline, or timestamps in the description. It's very important to listen, people. So if the chapters are not working in the timeline, always check the description because they might be there or most likely are there. Now, if you look for it right immediately after the podcast ends, you're obviously not going to find it because it takes me a few minutes to do it. But it's usually up as soon as the podcast ends a few minutes later. So again, if you don't see the chapters in the timeline, check the description. Anyways, having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. It's completely free. It takes a second and helps this channel continue to grow, especially when you hit the like button. If you hit the like button on this podcast, on any video, the more likes a video gets, the more the YouTube algorithm recommends the video to people who've never seen the channel. You know when you turn on your YouTube and you see this like recommended, right? And you see these random videos. Well, when you hit the like, YouTube is most likely to put my videos on someone else's recommended page. So hit the like button. It really, really helps. If you're looking to buy any Barcelona jerseys, including the home kit, the away kit, which is my favorite, or the orange third kit, or any kits from any team, not just European teams, all around the world, you can head to Kickback, Goal Kits, or Fanatics. Fanatics, by the way, also has kits from all sports, not just football. It could be American sports, basketball, American football, you name it. Click on the links of any of the links on the description for these three websites. A lot of times you get discounts, you get offers, buy one, get one, whatever. And finally, there is Bet Us. If you are looking to place any sports bets, not just on Barcelona matches, but on any sporting event around the world, boxing, baseball, UFC, you name it, you can head to Bet Us. If you click on the link, you get $150 free to bet on whichever team you want. Anyways, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first segment of news is comprised of multiple bits of news. It started with Marc Bernal because, ladies and gentlemen, Marc Bernal could be included for the first time in an entire year in this weekend's squad list against Valencia. As you know, Barcelona are set to play against Valencia on September 14th, Sunday, September 14th, 3 p.m. local time in Spain, 3 p.m. here, 9 p.m. local time in Spain. And Marc Bernal could be included in the squad list, especially since, it's been officially 365 days since his surgery. As you know, Marc Bernal last season tore his ACL, damaged his meniscus. He had to undergo surgery. He was out this whole entire time. He received green light from his doctors. I think it was in August, if I'm not, either end of July, beginning of August. I think it's beginning of August. He got the green light. But nonetheless, despite Marc Bernal's doctor saying he's healthy enough to play, Barcelona wanted to be extra cautious. And they wanted to apply this unwritten rule that they have, where if a player undergoes surgery, especially someone as young as Bernal, they want to wait 365 days or an entire year until he's allowed to go back, even though he has the green light. And that's the case of Bernal. He had the green light from his doctors. Barcelona wanted to wait 365 days, and well, now those 365 days have been completed, and thus Marc Bernal will be officially available to play. The other reason on why there is a good possibility that Marc Bernal will be included in the squad list, besides that he is now healthy enough, is that, of course, we do have both Gavi and Frenkie de Jong injured. So this, of course, presents a good opportunity to include someone like Bernal, a midfielder, to be included in the squad list, especially since both Gavi and Frenkie have been playing as defensive midfielders or pivots. Marc Bernal, well, that's exactly his position. And third, on why Marc Bernal could be included in the squad list is because people who've been, reporters who've been watching the trainings have been seeing that Marc Bernal has been training with more intensity. He has been in training has had more protagonism, let's say, or more important roles during practice. So that could be a good signal that he will be included in the squad list. Now, that only means that he's going to be included in the squad list. Does that mean he's going to get minutes? Of course, we don't know. I have a feeling that maybe not, but if he does, it's going to be a few minutes here, a few minutes towards the end. I doubt for sure he's not going to start, and I don't see him getting a lot of minutes, maybe a few minutes. Again, that's if he gets any. But good news for Bernal again, who has been out for a year, because he most likely will be included in the squad list for this weekend, and I'm sure Flick will be happy about that too, because of course he did count on Bernal 100% before his injury last season, and that's when Bernal had just gotten promoted. That's when Bernal, had never played with the first team, and yet Flick counted on him every single match until his injury. So good news for Bernal, and I'm sure Flick is excited about that. I'm sure very excited about that. I cannot wait to see what Marc Bernal has to offer during this season. Now, the next bit of news that I want to talk about is, of course, another injury, and that is Gavi. Gavi, because we do have an injury update in regards to Gavi. As you know, Gavi did feel discomfort in his knee, the same knee that he underwent surgery, because just like Marc Bernal, Gavi tore his ACL, also damaged his meniscus, underwent a very serious injury. He was out for almost a year, and right before the international break, he felt discomfort in one of the practices. He didn't finish the practice as a precaution. The next practice he was missing. He didn't participate. He missed the Rayo Vallecano match, which was the last match before the international break. And as far as the international break, Gavi withdrew from the Spanish national team. So, of course, he did not participate there either. And, well, he did undergo medical exams. It revealed that his ACL and meniscus were intact. So there hasn't been a re-rupture, which is great news. But nonetheless, the doctors did not understand why he was feeling the pain, why there was swelling. So they decided to opt for conservative treatment. Let's do some physical therapy, conservative treatment, see how it progresses. And of course, if it doesn't improve, then they would consider an arthroscopy, which is a less invasive surgery where they open two very small holes. They insert a camera from one, the tools from the other. They clean up the area. But first, they want to, of course, try the conservative treatment. Now, what's the update? Because you already knew all of this. The update is that Gavi today met with the club doctors once again for a checkup, and the doctors noticed some improvement, which is good. So what they're going to do is they're going to keep him on conservative treatment for another week. Now, for the next week, Gavi will continue to do physical therapy, conservative treatment. Then in a week, the doctors will meet with him again, and again, they're going to examine him. If he's still improving, they'll continue the conservative treatment until eventually he's fully healthy. If not, then they're going to start talking about considering a surgery, which is the arthroscopic surgery that I just mentioned. Now, if Gavi were to undergo an arthroscopic surgery, they're saying he will be out 4 to 5 weeks, which, of course, it is unfortunate. It is a loss. But the silver lining is 4 or 5 weeks, in the great scheme of things, it's not a lot of time, as opposed to like the 9 or 10 months that he missed when he had his surgery to rebuild his ACL and to repair his meniscus. So hopefully Gavi will continue improving with conservative treatment. That way he doesn't have to undergo surgery because, of course, that would be very unfortunate, even though, again, he wouldn't be out for that long. Now, the last player I want to talk about is, of course, Frenkie de Jong, the other injured midfielder, because Frenkie de Jong, his injury is minor. The club has confirmed that his injury is minor. He felt some tension in his gluteus muscle while he was with Netherlands. He ended up missing the second match of the FIFA international break because the Netherlands decided he's not fit enough, so he came back to Barcelona. He underwent medical exams. The club announced that it was a minor injury, so he's not expected to be out for too long, but he will be out for this weekend's match because Frenkie de Jong has been seen training kind of like on his own during practice, which, of course, shows or indicates that he's not fully fit, and as such, it's not expected that he will be available for Valencia match. We'll see if he will be available for Newcastle. They're saying most likely not, but there is a chance that he could be back. Of course, it will all depend on his, on his progression. So we'll see how that goes, and of course, I will be here to track it. All right, let's do the comment section, and then after this, we are gonna talk about UEFA because I do have news. UEFA have lifted the ban on Barcelona. If you didn't know what ban I'm talking about, don't worry. Next segment, that's exactly what we are covering. And we have Shin, as always. And Shin, always incredibly generous. Always supporting the channel. By the way, Shin was the first member of the channel, so that's pretty amazing. He's, of course, the longest standing member since he was the first member. And as always, showing his love for the channel. But Shin says, hey, bro, I got my replica Lamine Yamal away kit today. If you'll remember, I bet you back when you were showing your authentic one that the replica would also have the snakeskin badge. And guess what? I went, it's on there. That's awesome. I'm really glad that it does have it. Because the replica is much cheaper than the authentic one. Actually, so my first kit ever, my first Barcelona kit ever was a Messi kit. I can't remember what season. This was several years ago. It was a gift, and that was the first authentic kit. Now, when I say authentic, obviously I mean the players version, right? The ones that the players use. It's a different material, much lighter, more breathable. Plus, it has like it looks kind of like an engraving on the material. That was my first kit ever. It was a gift. It was authentic. Every other gift kit I got after that, it was a replica or what they call the fan version. The material is not as light, is not as breathable. And finally, this season, I said, you know what? I want an authentic one, or the players version. So this is when I got the away players version. It really is. There is a big difference, I gotta say, in the material. It really feels a lot more breathable. Feels a lot lighter. It doesn't feel like you're wearing anything almost. It feels just like almost like you're shirtless, really. But I like it. Now, of course, it is very expensive, so I don't think I'm gonna be doing this very often. I'm not gonna be doing this every season, buying the players version. But I'm very happy that you got the replica one, and it actually has the skin, snake skin on the badge, because I think that's a really cool touch. It's kind of like what was it, 2 seasons ago when they did the away kit in memory of the first Barcelona family team in the 70s, and they had the old crest, and within the old crest they had the diamond, which represented the crest of the first female team. I think that was pretty cool, and I'm glad now they did something similar, which is the snake skin on the crest and on the Spotify logo. The Spotify logo also has the skin snake. But anyways, Prof Comedy says, hello, Mo, Justice Boy from the Gambia. I can't wait to see the boys on Sunday with the full energy and hungry minds for 3 points. Vizca Barça from the Gambia, West Africa. I cannot wait either. I hate when there's FIFA international breaks for 2 reasons. A, because you're always worried that the players might get injured and the FIFA virus might strike. Thankfully, this time it didn't. The only player that came back injured was Frenkie, which is a minor injury. So thankfully that doesn't happen. And of course, the second reason why I hate international breaks is because there's no matches. There's no Barca matches. And if there's no matches, I don't know what to do with myself. That's why I feel like summers are always like incredibly long for me, because again, there's no Barcelona matches, which of course absolutely sucks. Carlos Lizarraga. Wait, I'm struggling because I don't have my glasses because I'm an old man. Says, hey, Mo, I thought if we can't go back to the Camp Nou for the second game, we would play at Montjuic. Now the second one would be at Johan Cruyff Stadium 2. Yes, they're saying the Getafe match will be at the Estadio Johan Cruyff as well. Looks like La Liga have also given Barcelona permission to play there for the second match, given that it's, it's special circumstances, what they call force majeure, something that's out of your control, that's affecting your ability to fulfill your contract, right? Force majeure is a contractual term. It means that you can't fulfill your end of the contract because there's something out of your control, a force out of your control that's preventing you from it, right? That's what force majeure means, because there is a contract between Barcelona and La Liga, which says that, Barcelona have to abide by La Liga rules in exchange of being in La Liga, right? That's a contract. And part of La Liga rules is having a stadium that can seat more than 8,000 people, plus everything else, VAR, fiber optics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. By Barcelona not having a stadium that can seat that many people, Estadio Johan Cruyff, they are, of course, breaking their contract. They're not fulfilling their end of the contract with La Liga. But there is a legal excuse, what's called force majeure, which means something out of their control that's preventing them from fulfilling their end of the contract, which, of course, is the fact that their stadium's not ready, right? The Camp Nou is not ready. So that counts as force majeure. It's not that Barcelona is saying, F you, we just want to play at the Estadio Johan Cruyff because we feel like it. No, it's something out of their control. So it looks like La Liga have approved against a second match will be played at the Estadio Johan Cruyff again. Of course, this is not confirmed, but that's what the reports are saying. I imagine if it continues to where by October maybe, or the Camp Nou is still not ready. I think eventually Barcelona, yes, they're gonna have to go to the Olympic Stadium, because it's gonna be more difficult to argue force majeure, right? Because now you don't have the Camp Nou is not available, but neither is the Olympic Stadium, and then eventually the Olympic Stadium will be available. So it's gonna be more difficult to convince La Liga to say, oh, it's force majeure. It's like, okay, Camp Nou is not available, but Montjuic is. So we'll see. But yes, most likely the second home match, which is Getafe, will be played at the Olympic Stadium. And let's do one more comment, and then we'll do the next bit of news, because Polyglot says Marc Bernal is going to be a game changer in the second half of the season. Granted, the staff ease him in over time. He could be key for big La Liga Champions matches. Also, Bon Diadamo. I agree 100%. I think Bernal is going to be a game changer, period, for Barcelona. I think we really do have a special kid on our hands. Same way we have Lamine, who's so special in attack, and Cubarsí, who's so special in defense. Bernal, who's also part of the same generation. I think he's very special in the midfield, and I can't wait for him to get back into competitive rhythm, and hopefully he can stay healthy and continue growing, developing, getting better, and I think he could change the game. Hopefully this injury will not be a setback, and hopefully again he can go back to doing what he was doing last season, but of course getting better and better as he grows and gains more experience. All right, let's go back to the news, because we do have to talk about UEFA lifting the ban, which is, of course, is good news for Barcelona. Now, if you don't know by now, UEFA had imposed a sanction on Hansi Flick and his assistant coach, Marcus Sorg, where they suspended him for one Champions League match, and that suspension would have carried over, because this was from last season, would have carried over, of course, into this season, and Flick and Marcus Sorg were expected to miss the match against Newcastle, which is, of course, the first Champions League match. It's the match right after Valencia. I'm so excited. We finally have Champions League, ladies and gentlemen. Champions League is also back. Let me see the exact date. The exact date is September 18th. So 4 days after the Valencia match on a Thursday, which is weird. Champions League matches are usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays. This one's going to be on a Thursday, September 18th, which is against Newcastle. But Flick and Marcus Sorg were supposed to miss that match. Now, I reported about this in a video several weeks ago when the punishment was first announced. This is as a result of Barcelona's elimination at the hands of Inter Milan. UEFA found both Hansi Flick and Marcus Sorg guilty of, quote-unquote, breaching the competition's general principles and code of conduct. What does that mean? Nobody knows. right? In fact, Barcelona, when they received the notification that Flick and Sorg had been suspended for one match, they were like, for what? Oh, well, breaching the general principles of code of conduct. Okay. So what did they do? Right. So Barcelona ended up appealing this decision, and well, they have won to a certain degree. Why do I say certain degree? Because on one hand, UEFA has agreed to lift the ban, so Hansi Flick and Marcus Sorg will be available for the Newcastle match, which is great news. You always want your coach right there on the sidelines, so they will be available, both of them. But I say to a certain degree because even though the ban has been lifted, both Flick and Marcus Sorg will be on a 1 year probationary period. That means during that 1 year, if Flick or Sorg or both violate the code of conduct of UEFA, they do something that's against the codes of UEFA, not only will this punishment be reinstated, meaning they would miss a match, but they would also, a new sanction would be added, kind of like double punishment, right? We bring back the punishment that we lifted, and then we add another punishment because you were on a probationary period and you still misbehaved. So we're gonna double punish you. That's why I say Barcelona won the appeal to a certain degree because the ban has been lifted, but Flick and Sorg are now on probation, which to me doesn't make sense, because if you're lifting the ban, is because you're saying what they were accused of doing is not something they did. So why would you put them on probation? Because if they didn't do it, and if they did do it, why did you lift the punishment to begin with? I don't know. Maybe it's because their first time they put it on probation. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. But nonetheless, just know Flick and Sorg will be available for the Newcastle match, and they will be on probation for 1 year. So they're going to have to really behave well during that year. Now, I hope Vinicius would go through these kind of things, bans and probations, but of course, that guy can do whatever he wants. He can fight with opposing players, he can fight with coaches, he can fight with fans. Nobody says anything to him, but Flick and Marcus Sorg apparently have to serve a full year probation because for something we don't even know what they did. Because again, UEFA has not explained why they were found guilty of breaching the competition's general principles and code of conduct. Anyways, speaking of the Newcastle match, Barcelona will be getting a boost, or actually double boost, ahead of that their first Champions League match, or their Champions League season opening match. The first boost comes in form of Wissa. I think that's how you say it. Johan Wissa. He's 29-year-old, center forward. He was signed during this summer. He was one of the reinforcements that Newcastle brought in for their attack. And it looks like the injury that he picked up during the summer will mean that he will miss the match against Barcelona. And this, in fact, was confirmed by Newcastle's coach during a press conference ahead of this weekend's Premier League matches. He confirmed that, yes, Wissa is still injured. So most likely, barring any kind of last-minute miracle, he will miss the match against Barcelona. The second boost is Jacob Ramsey. Jacob Ramsey received a knock against Leeds United, and he will be out until the international break. And that, of course, is in October, so way after the match against Barcelona. So he will definitely miss the match against Barcelona. So Barcelona getting two boosts there as far as two players from Newcastle not available. And, of course, another two boosts that Flick and Sorg will be there. And, of course, I've always said I'd much rather face teams with their full squad healthy because, like I've said a million times, football is, after all, is entertainment. And, well, nothing more entertaining than two teams battling it out with their starting 11, all healthy, all available. I don't really like the whole, I hope they miss their most important star, because I want to beat them with their best 11. Okay, I want to be able to say, hey, I beat you with your best players on the field, because, there's always the excuse, oh, no, well, we were missing this guy, and we were missing that. No, I want to be able to say, I beat you with all your best players on the field, healthy, available, everything. No excuses. Plus, again, football is entertainment. It's a lot more entertaining to watch two teams going at it with all their players healthy versus, one team missing their star, and you know what I mean. Anyways, let's get back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Valencia, because the Valencia coach had some words, things to say about the whole stadium situation. We got to review those statements, and also we're going to talk about a possible formation, because most likely there will be a lot of changes during this weekend. Dean J says, hello, Mo, been a while since I've had the chance to be live on the podcast. Glad for this one. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Yes, please hit that like button. It really, really helps. Also subscribe. Now, the like button actually matters more than subscription, believe it or not. The like button, like I said, the more likes a video gets, the more the algorithm prompts the video or recommends the video to people who never seen it, right? Like I explained at the beginning of this podcast, but if you're joining late, when you turn on your YouTube, you open your YouTube app, or you turn on your TV to YouTube, there's always like a list, recommended videos. Well, the more a video gets likes, the more likely that video is going to pop up on someone's home screen saying recommended video, right? Who's never seen the channel. Subscriptions doesn't necessarily prompt the algorithm to promote the channel, but it makes me feel good, because I know, hey, people are watching this, people are liking it. So please do. It's free. Helps the channel grow. So help a brother out. Suleiman says, hello, Mo. It feels good to be back in action this weekend. I hope we return back to the Camp Nou and Visca Barça. I hope we return to the Camp Nou pretty soon, too. I really miss our home stadium. We've been out for 2 years now. Well, a little more, 2 years, because, May of 2 years ago, that was May of 2023, right? That's the last time we played. Now it's September 2025, so we're talking about 2 years and 3 months, 4 months. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And as far as return to action, yes. And I really, really hope the players learn their lesson from Rayo Vallecano, that no matter how good you are, you cannot come out 50% or 60 or 70%. You have to come out 100%, full pedal to the metal. Otherwise, a team like Rayo Vallecano with the budget of your toilet paper at Barcelona can do damage. So I hope they learn a lesson. I hope they're going to come out, fully focused. Jorge Cerda says, is the Stadi really a bad stadium? At least we won't have to pay rent at Olympic. Sure, we don't have to pay the rent, but you're losing a lot more money in lost revenue than you are in what you would have to pay for rent, right? We're talking about at the Olympic Stadium, Barcelona made approximately 2.8 million per match. At the Johan Cruyff, on the Joan Gamper Trophy Day match, they made 370,000. So 370,000 compared to 2.8, we're talking about 8-9 times more money that you make at the Olympic Stadium. So sure, yeah, you don't have to pay rent, but you're losing a lot more money than you are saving on not paying rent. But it's a beautiful stadium, really, really nice stadium, brand new, spanking new. The pitch is amazing. The stadium, since it's new, the seats are in great shape. Everything, the paint, everything's like brand new, sparkling new. Like, it's a very beautiful stadium. I've been to it. I've watched the Barca Femení and the Barca Athletic there, but 6,000 people. I mean, it's a very small stadium. Now, the cool thing is when you're there, because it's such a small stadium, you feel like you can reach and touch the players. That's the cool thing about it. You're so close to them. And you're not that close to the Camp Nou. Even if you're like the first row, you're still not that close because there's a big chunk of grass. With the Stade Johan Cruyff, like the grass, like it's like the grass is like the small patch, and then there's the wall where the people sit. Like there's very little space between where the pitch ends and where the stands start, and the stands are pretty low. Like you can literally reach out and touch them. You're so close, and you're so low that you do get a great view of the players. But it's 6,000 people. I mean, It's a very, very small stadium. It's not a first division La Liga worthy stadium. It's definitely not a stadium worthy for Barca's first team. One of the biggest clubs in the world should be played in one of the biggest stadiums in the world, not the smallest in first division in La Liga right now. Let's see. Let's do a few more comments and then we'll get back to the news. But John Williams says, actually, let me put my glasses on so I don't have to struggle. Hey Mo, have you ever thought of seeing Cubarsí play in the defensive mid role in 4-3-3 formation with Pedri and Olmo since he's physically strong and good on the ball? No, and it's the same reason I've always given for other players playing out of position, is that you want your players playing in the best position they play in, right? Where they can shine, where they're best. Right? It's kind of like when Araujo used to play as a right back, and he would do good, right? But does that mean you want him there? No, because he's much better as a center back. Again, this is before Flick, of course, when Araujo was our best center back, not anymore. So you always want a player to play where they're the strongest. Like Fermin, right? Fermin, he can play as a left back. He's played as a left winger. He's played as a left winger. He scored goals from the left wing. But do you want him there? No, because he's much better as an attacking mid, right? So you always want your players playing in the position where they play the best. Just because they're good at another position doesn't mean that's where you should have them, right? They should be playing where they shine the most. Now, as far as being physical and, for the DM role, I mean, that's why we have Bernal now, right? And hopefully Bernal can ease back into it. And if we have someone as physical as Bernal in the DM and right behind him, someone as physical as Pau Cubarsí and Christensen, I mean, you have a triangle there of very physical guys who are also happy to be fast and who also have to be very technically able. And that's, of course, very important. Let's see. All right, let me see the next comment. Edward Hamilton says, hi, Mo. Have you seen any of the Camp Nou blogs? Ferran Barniol and Dani Pardos or Spy Hector. The stadium looks great and will be magnificent. I actually have not seen any of those guys. I actually don't know who they are. Usually what I do is there's a few channels. There's just a camera set up, like from people who live around the stadium, and they have a camera set up on a balcony, and it just streams live all day, 24/7. So I'll just go to those streams and I'll just take a quick look at the stadium. It is looking great, but no, I have not seen any of those channels. Maybe I should check them out. So thank you for the recommendation, but no, I have not. Unfortunately, I have not. All right, let's do one more, and then we'll talk about Valencia. But Jorge says, what team kept boycotting the president box? I think it's Crybaby Valencia. No, it was Athletic Club de Bilbao. They're the ones who boycotted the presidential box a few times. I think all of last season. Well, it's only one match, right? And I think the season before, because, the whole, Negrita, Barcelona ruining the competition, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I think it was Athletic Club de Bilbao, not Valencia. But speaking of Valencia, let's talk about their coach statements, because, well, he has made some statements complaining about the whole stadium situation. As you know, Barcelona will be playing at the Estadio Johan Cruyff. That's confirmed 100%. La Liga has already approved it. Barcelona have already made all the modification. They've installed more VAR cameras. They've installed the semi-automatic offside. They installed fiber optic cables, so the transmission of the match can be more reliable. So they've done all the improvements that La Liga required of them. La Liga went back again, inspected it, made sure that, yes, everything is up to par. So now the stadium is approved, and Barcelona will play against Valencia at the Estadio Johan Cruyff. Now, this has not sat well with a lot of the Valencia team members. For example, there's been a couple of players who have complained in interviews, and now their coach, Carlos Corberán, he too complained during the press conference, more specifically about the timing of the announcement and also about the available tickets for the Valencia for the Valencia fans. Now, this is what Corberan had to say. It's an atypical situation because the stadium is usually known in advance. And the Federation and La Liga set rules and have to ensure those rules are followed. What I've done is focus on ourselves, regardless of the field we're playing on. When the stadium was announced, the club made an effort to have 290 people supporting the team. We think it's necessary. It hasn't been in line with the level of prestige of the competition. Now, finally, he was asked about, these last two matches. One of them, they lost to Barcelona like 7-0, I think, and the other one was like 5-1. So, talking about those losses, Corberan said, we're trying to transform the pain into anger and motivation to show that those two games weren't going to represent Valencia. So, looks like Valencia are motivated with those two losses, and they're going to turn that pain into anger into motivation. And, of course, Corberan complained about the stadium, saying the whole announcement, how it happened, plus how they're only going to get 290 seats. Now, I get it. It is atypical. Well, actually, it's not completely atypical. I mean, clubs renovate their stadiums all the time. Clubs move out of their stadiums to renovate them all the time. Clubs play at smaller stadiums while they're renovating their main stadium all the time. Clubs close sections of their stadium while they're renovating their stadium all the time. It's not atypical. This happens all the time in La Liga and all other European leagues. What's a little bit atypical is, of course, the fact that Barcelona announced the Estadio Johan Cruyff only a few days before. But I just don't understand the necessity of consistently complaining about it, because two players have already complained. This guy's complaining now, and it's like, dude, it's as long as you have a official pitch, it's the right size, the lines are all drawn correctly, the pitch is in great condition, you have two goals. Why does it matter to you if you're playing at the Camp Nou, or you're playing at the Estadio Johan Cruyff, or you're playing at the Olympic Stadium? You're still a visiting team. You still have a pitch available to play on. You still have locker rooms for your players to change in. I mean, what is the concern here? Why the constant complaints? The one who lose out here is Barcelona, because they're going to lose out on a lot of money, a couple of $1 million or euros. And, the whole advantage of playing at home, it's kind of diminished, because there's a difference between 45,000 people at Montjuic chanting for you versus 6,000 at Estadio Johan Cruyff. Now, he says about the 290 tickets for Valencia fans. Okay, I get it. Yeah, sure. That does suck. It's usually, I think, 2,000 or 3,000. Now it's like 290. Yes, that is a lot less. I give him that point, but only to a certain degree, because even if it was your regular 3,000-4,000, I actually went to two Valencia matches, one at the Camp Nou, one at Montjuic, and they're seated all the way at the top in like this little glass box, for security reasons. You don't even know they're there. You can't even hear them. So I don't think it's gonna matter that much whether it's 3,000-4,000 at Camp Nou or whether it's 290 people at the Estadio Johan Cruyff. But I think as a coach, what you should be focusing on is how we're gonna beat Barca, not what stadium are we playing in? It's like, but anyways, these days I feel like everyone just wants to complain about something. Now, moving on from the statements, I do kind of want to discuss the lineup a little bit, right? I don't usually do it, but people always, all the time ask me, hey, Mo, what do you think, what's going to be the lineup? So I was like, you know what? Let's start doing that. Let's start talking about possible lineups, because, it's always fun to guess and see if you were correct. And I also want to hear you guys' thoughts, because it's expected that there will be changes, because, of course, we have Gavi who's injured, we have Frenkie who's injured, we have Alejandro Balde who's injured, we have players who've returned from international break. So I think there will be changes. So this is the predicted lineup that I think Hansi Flick will employ. And, of course, I later want to hear you guys' thoughts. Who do you think Hansi Flick will be starting? And, of course, in goal, this is a pretty obvious one. I don't think we have to do much guessing. But, of course, Joan Garcia, he's become Hansi Flick's number one. Of course, he's going to be on goal. No questions there. And a right back. Here is where I'm not 100% sure. And I say this why. Jules Koundé is obviously Hansi Flick's number one, undoubtedly. Now, there was those matches where Eddie Garcia started ahead of Koundé, but it's been revealed that it was because Koundé was not 100% fit. So, of course, Koundé remains Hansi Flick's number one, but Jules Koundé did play both matches with France. So, of course, he's going to be a little bit tired. So the question is Flick going to start Koundé, who's number one, or will he give Koundé some rest and start Eric Garcia? This is where, for me, it's really tough. It's a coin flip. I feel like on one hand, Flick is going to want to go all out with his starting 11 because, he's not happy with how the first half went. But again, you have to consider exhaustion. But just because the fact, damn, this is hard because Eddie Garcia can also do a great job and he did not play, so he's going to be well rested. So this is hard, but I'm going to pick one because I have to pick one. So I am going to pick for the right back. I'm going to go with Koundé. I think Flick is going to want to go all out with all his best 11 to get that win after dropping points against Rayo. Here, I think this is easy. Pau Cubarsí, no doubt. The other center back, and here it could be Araujo or Christensen. Flick has been opting for Araujo more, even though Christensen has been looking more like a better fit. But I'm going to go with Christensen. I think Christensen really has stepped it up every time he's played alongside Cubarsí. I think he's had much better minutes than Araujo during the season. And let's not forget, during the international break, I think with his performance with Denmark, with his goal with Denmark, I think he was sending a clear message to Flick. I could do this. Put me in, coach. So I think it's going to be Christensen next to Cubarsí. A left back, I think this is easy. Alejandro Balde is injured. So we're going to go with Gerard Martin. That's my starting lineup for the defense. And now we look at the midfield. Pedri, of course, even though Pedri did play both matches. It's Pedri, the best midfielder in the world, undoubtedly. And here, of course, we do have... Actually, this is usually Pedri. Hold on. Pedri plays on the left. All right. Here, it's usually Frenkie. Frenkie's injured. If it's not Frenkie, it's Gavi. He's injured too. So I think we're going to see Marc Casado. Now, the front three, obviously, I don't have to tell you, but it's obviously got to be Lamine Yamal on the right. In here, here's the question. Is it going to be Olmo? Is it going to be Fermin? Now, I feel like this could be a coin toss because I feel like Flick is not convinced with either right now. I feel like they both have gotten minutes and they both have failed to impress. So, who would it be? I'm going to go with Olmo. Can I go with Olmo? But it could be Fermin. I think Fermin could be a good advantage running to the backs of Valencia players. But I think he's going to go with Olmo. And then here on the left, and this is where I think there could be another change because I feel like Rashford could be getting a start here against Valencia. Why? Not because Rashford is doing better than Rafinha. He's not. I don't think Rashford has impressed me yet. But Rafinha is not only coming from playing both FIFA international breaks, but Rafinha has also played in Bolivia. Even though he didn't start, he only played like 30 minutes. He played in Bolivia, very high altitude. That very exhausting for players who are not used to playing in that high altitude. And Rafinha had to fly all the way to, South America, right? That's an incredibly long flight. There's time difference that you have to adjust to. Then you have to take another long-ass flight back. You have to get readjusted to the time zone again. So Rafinha, he's gotten a lot more exhausted than the players who stayed in Europe, right? So I think he will give Rashford a start. Now, finally, up front, and this is another big question mark. Of course, so far, Flick has opted for Ferran. but that's because Lewandowski has been injured. But now Lewandowski got minutes against Rayo. He played both matches against FIFA in the FIFA international break with Poland. So, in other words, he's not injured anymore, right? He's not only is he not injured, he's fit. He's in competitive rhythm. So it could be Lewy, but it could also be Ferran. So this is tough. This could also be a coin toss. But I'm going to go with the safe option, which of course is Lewy. So that's my starting 11. Joan Garcia in goal, Koundé on the right, Cubarsí and Christensen as our two center backs, Gerard Martin replacing the injured Balde, Casado replacing the injured Frenkie, Pedri, Lamine, Olmo, Rashford giving rest to Coutinho, and Lewandowski regaining his starting spot. Of course, I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Let me know, who do you think is going to be the starting 11? I'm very curious to hear you guys' opinions. All right, let's get back to the comment section. And then the last bit we're going to talk about is some financial stuff, because we do have some important dates coming up for Barcelona, where we're going to know more about where do we stand financially as a club. Let me see. Where did we leave off? Paul Diaz says, out of curiosity, do you like any other club other than Barca? No, I actually talked about this previously, but I only watch Barca alone. But I asked in a previous podcast. I also asked at the MoCast who people suggested I should watch in the Premier League, because I would like to start watching the Premier League and I wanted a club to follow. Not to become a fan of or anything, just to follow, so I can have someone to watch in the Premier League. A lot of people made a lot of suggestions, and I think I landed on Liverpool. I think starting this Sunday, because Liverpool plays, if I'm not mistaken, at 12, or is it at 9? They play before Barca. So I think I'm going to watch Liverpool for the first time, like an actual Premier League match. I have watched Liverpool before in the Premier League whenever they played like a big game, like against City or against, Man U or Chelsea, the big ones, but I haven't really followed them consistently. So this Sunday, it's going to be my first time as I embark on this new journey of watching the Premier League consistently. Now, if you guys have more suggestions on who I should watch, please let me know. Carlos says, do we know anything about the supporters section? Are they coming back this year? It would be nice to have them this weekend on top of the pitch. The supporter section, we're supposed to have a new supporter section, so the supporter section is a combination of I think it was 3 or 4 peñas that used to go they had an agreement with the club to be the supporter section, so they would get that section to themselves, the supporter section. They would obviously get discount tickets, and then the whole thing happened with Laporta forward them all the fines that Barcelona had received from all their infractions. They were like, you pay up or you're getting banned. They refused to pay up, so Laporta banned them. And the plan was that for this season, a new supporter section was going to be formed with new peñas, new members. So that's the plan. We'll see whether they follow through on it. Now, as far as the Stadio Johan Cruyff, I don't see any supporter section being allowed in because, of course, it's only 6,000. There's so much demand. They're only offer the tickets to the Sochis, unless I think you can only buy the VIP ones if you were not a Sochi, but the regular ones, the Sochis were prioritized, the ones with season tickets, because there's more than 16,000 season ticket holders. There's only 6,000 available seats, so season tickets were prioritized. So I don't see them giving away very limited seats to a match where tens of thousands of people are trying to go to let a supporter section in. But yeah. Let's see. Koram says, hi guys, a question for you. As a FC Barcelona and as a Lamine Yamal fan, will my favorite team, FC Barcelona, the match against Valencia, please reply me? I don't think I understand your question. But if you wanna explain a little bit more down below, please do. I'll make sure to read your comment. And my man Shane with another donation, always hoping and supporting this channel, says just dropping this one to hopefully further irritate the two peeps in the chat who seem to have vested interest in my personal finances and how I choose to use them. Fun times. Right? Is there someone giving you a hard time for donating money? I mean, look, I'm not saying this because obviously I gain from these donations, but yeah, I never understood people who try to tell other people how to spend their money. It's your money. You work for it. You work hard for it. You earn it. You should be able to spend it any way you want. And again, I'm not saying this because, of course, I want you to keep donating, or that I gain from these donations. But I've always, and you can, anybody who knows me can attest to this. Now that you can ask them, but I never ever tell people how to spend their money. If they ask me for advice, I'm like, sure, this is what you should do, or this is what you shouldn't do. But I would never, A, tell someone how to spend their money, and B, I wouldn't even offer advice, unsolicited advice. If they ask me, sure, I'll tell them what I think they should do. But only if they ask me, because I feel like money is one of those things where it's a personal thing. Like, you have no business in someone else's money and what they should be spending it on. But anyways, that's my opinion. Again, I know this might sound like, in my best interest to say these kind of things, but it's just how I always viewed this topic. But thank you, my friend, for your donation. I know you work very hard for your money as an electrician. I know that's not an easy job. And, I appreciate that you give me these donations, which, represents your hard-earned money. So I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate your support. And like I said, people should mind their business because it's your money. Anyways, Edward says, Mo, the usual 4-2-3-1 morphs into a 3 or 2 on the back line. And when we see 4 up front in the attack, we have a hard time against an opponent's 5-man back line with the Barca high line. Scary. Yeah, usually because we use our fullbacks so much that, usually it does end up being the 2 guys in the back, our 2 center backs, who end up standing at the midline with our 2 pivots in front of them. And then, pretty much then sometimes it becomes a line of 4 where you have, or no, actually a lot of times it becomes a line of 5 of attackers, where you have Lamine, you have Koundé a little bit more ahead of him. On this side, you have, Balde with Rafinha. And then right down the middle, you have whoever the attacking midfield is, Olmo or Fermin, with Pedri usually coming from the back. And then, of course, you have your 9, whether it's B. Ferran or Lewandowski. But yeah, it is a very top-heavy formation. Obviously, it's very offensive formation. And yes, that's why we concede. It's like I've always said. I keep getting tired of hearing people, we concede. Well, yes. That's what happens when you attack with all 11 players. And I say 11 players because even our goalie starts the build-up, right? When you attack with all your players, you will concede. You will. It's like jumping in a pool and getting wet. Oh, my God, every time I jump in a pool, I get wet. Well, yeah, that's what happens, bro. When you attack with all your players, you concede goals. But guess what? You also score a lot of goals. So which one do you want? Do you want to score a lot of goals, or do you not want to concede goals? Because you can't have both, right? You either win by 7 goals, 6 goals, but you also concede, or you don't concede at all and you only win by 1 or 2. Atletico Madrid, right? That's what they do. They park the bus. They don't concede goals. But guess what? They also don't score goals. They score 1 goal here, 1 goal there. So which one do you want? I much prefer to concede goals but be able to score, because that's a lot more entertaining for me. It's a lot more entertaining to see our players do what they do, score the goals that they score. And sure, they concede, but that's the price that you pay. As long as you're scoring more than you conceding, that's all it matters. That's Cruyffism at its heart. I mean, that's what Johan Cruyff used to say. I'd rather win 5-4 than 1-0. Because if you win 5-4, sure, you conceded 4 goals, but you scored 5. And guess what? A match with 9 goals is always going to be way more entertaining than a match with just 1. Remember Xavi's matches? Oh, my God. You wanted to shoot your brains out. Oh, yeah, we would win, but you wanted to shoot your brains out. Oh, we didn't concede goals, but you wanted to shoot your brains out. I mean, it was the boring. And I'd much rather see entertaining football. Why? Because football, at the end of the day, is an entertainment. Do you want to be entertained, or do you want to just park the bus and not concede goals and be bored out of your mind? I much rather concede goals and be entertained and obviously score a lot more. Dorian says, I know this is off topic, but did you know that Desiree Doué recorded 0 goal assists in 18 out of 21 matches? Meanwhile, Lamine has 7 goal assists in 5 matches, yet the media wants to compare them. Well, to be fair, obviously, I think Lamine Yamal is better than Doué. Plus, Doué is older, and Lamine Yamal is already outplaying him. But to be fair to Doué, he was he injured? Or did he get injured in a FIFA international break? Maybe he got injured in FIFA international break. But yeah. But either way, I obviously think Lamine is better, but I'm not a big fan of comparing goals and assists only, because I feel like that's only one of many, many factors. They need, it's kind of like Madridistas where like, oh, Lamine hasn't scored that many goals, so he shouldn't win. And it's like, bro, it's the Ballon d'Or, not the Golden Boot. It's not a goal race. Do goals matter? Sure. Do assists matter? Sure. But that's only one side of the coin, right? The numbers. The other side of the coin is immeasurable things, like their impact on the match, their impact on the outcome of the match, their impact on the team. And that's things you cannot measure, which are just as important, you know, their football IQ, their vision of the field, their positioning, all those things you cannot really measure in numbers, you cannot quantify, but they're still just as important. And, you know, Lamine, he wins in all the categories, but nonetheless, I'm not a big fan of just being, oh, look, this guy has this many goals and this guy has missed many goals. That means this guy is better. Not true, right? Penaldo has more goals than Messi. He's not better, not even close. But yeah, but I do think that Lamine is better. Shin says, well, I'm not completely excited to see the boys play in a 6,000 capacity stadium on TV. I have to say, if I had a chance to go, I'd love it. To be that close to my favorite players would be the shit. Absolutely, man. When I saw the Barca Femini and the Barca Athletic, I was so close. It was crazy. It was crazy. So I cannot imagine seeing, you know, Lamine right there. Especially because, you know, one half, well, depending on when you're if you're sitting on, it's called Tribuna? No, I forgot the side, the bigger side. One half, Lamine is going to be right there. And if you're sitting on the other side, the other half, he's going to be on the other side. But he's always going to be close because he's winger. He's a winger, right? He's always going to be right there. Like I said, it's so close. Like, you're super low, and then it's just a little bit of space, and then the pitch begins. And, yeah, you can, like, literally reach out and touch them. So, yeah, it would be really cool. It would be very, very cool. But anyways, let's do the last bit of news. And then we'll do more comments because we're coming up on the hour and I don't want to have a super, super long podcast. I don't want to bore you guys, but let's do the last bit of news because we do have some financial updates. Well, financial updates. You'll see what I'm talking about. But 2 things. First of all, the weekend of October 18th, the board of directors headed by John Laporta will be giving their annual financial brief to the Sochis. This is, of course, very, very important. They do this every year, and as always, every year I cover it. So this is when they're going to cover all that financial paperwork that they submitted to La Liga. Is going to be presented to the Sochis. That includes all the results from last year's fiscal year. Remember, the fiscal year ends on June 30th, so July 1st, 2024 until June 30th, 2025. They're going to present the results of that financial year or fiscal year, all the money that Barcelona made, money that Barcelona spent, money that Barcelona lost, growth, players sold, players loaned, how much money they made off these sales and loans, players rights of players that Barcelona didn't own anymore, but they still own the rights, etc. Right? They're going to give the full financial breakdown to the Sochis. And of course, I'll be here to cover it all, every single number. Now, it's not just the results of the last fiscal year. It's also going to be, they're going to present the projection for this current fiscal year that we're in. July 1st, 2025 until June 30th, 2026, right? The projection, how much Barcelona project they're going to make, they're going to spend, etc., etc., etc. Now, why is this important? Because, of course, this will be the first look into how Barcelona did last year and how we're expected to do. In other words, we're going to know where we sit right now financially. Did we improve from the year previous to that? Are we still the same? Did we get worse? Also, how do we expect to do this fiscal year? Are we going to expect to improve? And expect to stay the same? Expect to get worse, right? So this will be very, very important look into the club's financial health, how we did and how we expect to do. And of course, I will be here to cover it all. Cover it all. I can't even speak anymore. So make sure you subscribe. Hit that bell button because you can get notifications on when that video comes. The second thing, next Friday, would it be 19th? Yeah, the 19th, September 19th. La Liga will officially update the club in regards to our financial fair play. Now that the summer transfer market is closed, Barcelona obviously have submitted all the paperwork, what players they sold, what players they loaned, what players they signed, how much salary they cleared. They submitted all that. So La Liga is going to do a new calculation, and they're going to let us know how much our official cost is of the squad, and therefore where we are as far as our wage limit. Are we above the wage limit? Are we below? Are we right there? And that, of course, will affect the 1-1 rule. So next Friday, again, La Liga will give us the official numbers of how we're doing as far as the cost of our squad. And again, October 18th, 19th weekend, we'll get the full financial picture of the club. And of course, again, I will be here to break down those numbers, to give you my opinion. And that's it. That's all the news. All right, let's do the comment section, and then we will end this. But we do have another donation. Barca Reloaded donating. What is ZAR? What currency is that? Let me see. I got to look it up now because now I'm curious. Damn it. Why is it doing this again? ZAR currency. What is ZAR? ZAR. South African Rand. I did not know that. I did not know that the South African Rand is their initials are ZAR. But nonetheless, Barca Reloaded, thank you, my friend, for your donation. I'm guessing you're in South Africa, all the way from South Africa. But Barca Reloaded says, I think our center backs should sit just a little bit back in case we get countered and our wing backs can push with the rest of the team in attack. So the reason why, tell me why, ain't nothing but a heartache. The reason why our center backs usually are at the middle is because a lot of times they use the line at the middle of the field to set up the offside trap, right? They use it as a guide. Like, hey, I know if I put my foot at the line and everyone else is doing it, I don't have to make sure. Like, hey, where you at? Oh, wait, where you at? I just know I got to be at the line. And if everyone else is at the line, it's going to be an offside, right? It's easier to set up the offside trap when you have an actual line guiding all of you on where to be positioned versus having to use your imagination and have to use an imaginary line on the grass to know where you're going to be at, right? So that's why they usually stand right there, because they use that line. Now, what was Rayo Vallecano's plan to take advantage of that is that, well, every time when EC or whichever player they were going to use to break the line, they would have them, of course, they were using their fastest players, mostly EC. He would start running from his own half. And since he was so fast, the pass would start when he was still in his own half. And you know, if you're in your own half, it's not an offside. So he would start right there in his own half when the pass would start, and then he would book it. And by the time he would get the ball, obviously he would be in our half, but it doesn't matter because he had already started his run in his own half when the pass began. So that's how they were able to exploit that. But yeah, that's the reason why they stand at the middle, because they use the midline as a as a guide to set up the offside trap. But thank you, my friend, for your donation. And Shehzeb Hassan says, Mo, Laporta and the board should have increased the capacity of Stadio Johan Cruyff Stadium during the COVID period, since they knew Camp Nou will face rebuild. No, because The club was incredibly broke during COVID. I mean, the club was on the verge of financial collapse. Like the club almost ceased to exist. So the last thing you want to do when you're about to cease to exist is try to build or increase the capacity of your reserve team's stadium. And even if the club was financially healthy and able to do that, that's not something you want to do because you're going to spend, it's expensive to expand the stadium, especially when you're building on structure that's already there. And to do that, spend all that money in adding stands so it could be used a few times while the Camp Nou is being built, and then go back to the Camp Nou, that's just you just wasted money. Because, okay, yeah, you increased the capacity, but for how long you need that increased capacity? So it's not a prudent investment. Not to mention, if you're increasing the capacity of the Estadio Johan Cruyff, now you cannot use the Estadio Johan Cruyff because it's under construction. So now you're with 0 stadiums. And not only you don't have this as a backup, like right now, for example, Valencia, right? But now Barca Athletic and Barca Femini don't have a stadium. So it just doesn't make sense, right? We weren't financially healthy, so it wouldn't make sense to make that investment. And the investment itself just doesn't make sense to increase the capacity of a stadium that you're only going to use temporarily. Plus, you would leave Barca Athletic and Barca Femini without a stadium. Now, if we were financially healthy during COVID, the better alternative, not to increase the capacity of the Johan Cruyff, but it would have been to start the Camp Nou project during COVID. Again, if we were financially healthy. Why? Because then we could have moved to the Estadio Johan Cruyff without any problems because there were no crowds allowed. So you could have been able to use it a full season, no problem, right? Because you're not breaking any rules because, yeah, you're required a certain capacity, but guess what? It doesn't matter. There were no fans, which is what Real Madrid did, right? Real Madrid moved to their Castilla Stadium, the Stefano, while their horrendous stadium was being renovated, the Bernal. And it didn't matter because there were no crowds anyway. So they didn't lose any money. They lost the money that they would have lost anyway because of COVID, right? But Barcelona lost money during COVID because no crowds, and now they're losing money again because no stadium. But Madrid were able to put those two together, right? They didn't lose any extra money. They lost the same amount of money that they were supposed to lose from COVID because they played at the Di Stefano during COVID where no crowds were allowed. So that's what Barcelona should have done had they been financially healthy. Not increase the capacity of the Johan Cruyff, but move to the Johan Cruyff during COVID and start the project of the Camp Nou renovation. David says, you're awesome, bro. Always on top of everything regarding Barca. Thank you, my friend. I try. This, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but that's the reason why I started this channel. I used to say this a lot when I first started the channel. I would always explain this reason at the beginning of every video. I wanted to create a one-stop shop for all news. What does that mean? Back in 2008, so I've been a fan since 2003, 2004, something like that. When I was a kid, I really liked the 2002 Brazil squad. Won the World Cup in 2002, South Korea and Japan. And I was a huge fan of that Brazil squad. Ronaldo, the real Ronaldo Nazario, Ronaldinho, Roberto Carlos, Cafu, Rivaldo. Amazing squad. They had the Pepsi commercials. I mean, I just loved that squad, right? And obviously my favorite player was Ronaldinho. So when Barcelona signed Dino, I became a Barca fan. I think I was 13 or 14 years old. Now, no, I was younger than that. I think I was 12 or 13. Anyways, irrelevant. Now, when I became a fan, at first, wasn't like a super fan. Like, I would watch a match here and there. I didn't like watch every single match. And then as time progressed, I started getting older. Then I started becoming more and more of a fan, following the team more and more. But even when I was watching every single match, I was still not aware of what was going on at the club on an institutional level. Like, I didn't know who the president was or who the board was or how the club was doing financially. Or I didn't know any of that. I just watched the matches and that's it. I think it was 2018, 2017 that when I really became like super, super involved, where not only did I watch every match, I also wanted to know what was going on. Who was Barcelona scouting? Who were the board members? What were they doing? What were the sponsorship deals that were signed, et cetera, right? But I found it difficult or very time consuming to stay on top of what was going on with the club. Because a lot of times, transfers, every media outlet will report on a transfer, right? If Barcelona signed Marcus Rashford, every media outlet there will report it. When it comes to the more specific stuff on what's going on within the club on an institutional level, not every media outlet reports the same story. It's just whoever gets it first, right? So this outlet might report one thing, maybe about Laporta did this. This outlet might report about, oh, Rafa Yuste did that. This other outlet might report about, oh, sponsorship this. So in order to get the full picture of what was going on, I would have to go to several outlets to know little bits of news and put them all together to get the full picture of what was going on. So that kind of to me was like very time consuming. It took a lot of visits to different websites, different articles, different videos. So I was like, I want to simplify this. I want just one place where you go to one place and you hear all the stories, all there, on what's going on with Barca. So I was like, you know what? I couldn't find it. So I was like, I want to be it. So that was the whole goal of me starting the channel. Kind of like, you don't have to go and jump between 5-10 different websites and watch 5 to 10 different channels and watch 5 different TV shows. You could just come here, you get all your news, your whole fix, and done. And you know everything what's going on with the players, the coaches, the board, the club, what's going on financially. Anyways, I hope I'm doing a good job. That's what, if I am, hit the like button to let me know that I am. Subscribe to let me know that I am. And I appreciate that. Shin says, it just hit me, bro. If you take the name of the stadium, its proper pronunciation, Camp Nou. You could say Spotify Camp Mo, and it's yours, man. I can't help it. It's my personality. The Spotify Camp Mo. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Of course, I don't think I deserve the stadium, even jokingly being named after me. But yeah, that is cool. Spotify Camp Mo. You know what? So I'm very, very angry about this. But before Barcelona started shipping stuff to the U.S., I think last summer they started finally shipping to the U.S. But before that, if you would go onto the Camp Nou store or the Barcelona store, officially on their website, you couldn't buy anything off their website because they wouldn't ship it to the US. They would only ship within Europe, which I always thought was incredibly stupid. I'm like, how is one of the biggest clubs in the world only shipping to Europe and not the rest of the world? They finally started doing last year. Welcome to the 20th century, FC Barcelona. But anyways, I bought a stadium seat. When the Camp Nou got closed, they ripped all the seats and they sold them. I bought a stadium seat. I have one right here. And I also bought a mini Camp Nou. It was a mini Camp Nou that had real grass on the pitch from the Camp Nou. And obviously they didn't ship to the US, so I got the seat and the mini Camp Nou shipped to a friend's house who lives in Barcelona. Once she received it, I arranged for UPS to ship it from her house to my house here in the US. Well, they lost it. They lost my chair and they lost my Camp Nou. My mini Camp Nou with the real grass from the Camp Nou. So that could have been my Camp Mo, my Spotify Camp Mo. But instead, it got lost. Now, right after that happens, Barcelona announced that they're now shipping to the US. So I was able to buy another stadium seat. By the way, I never got my money back. That money was down a drain. But anyways, I was able to buy another stadium seat that got shipped directly to me. It's right here. I can show it to you guys. And the stadium was the mini Camp Nou, which could have been the Camp Mo, was sold out. So I was never able to recover it. They never found it. UPS never found it. They lost it forever. And Barcelona were not selling it anymore. So I'm very mad about that because that could have been my Spotify Camp Mo. By the way, do you guys want to see the chair? Let me show you the chair. Hold on. Hold on. All right, here we go. It has my Pikachu on it, but That's a Pokeball. And this is my stadium, my Spotify Camp Nou stadium seat. It has, hold on. There you go. It has an official plaque that says it's from the, I don't know why the way the light is catching it looks horrible, but it says Spotify Camp Nou, and it has the original plate from what seat number it was, you know, when you go to the stadium. Hold on, let this focus. Focus. Sorry, I have the autofocus on. Oh. There we go. But yeah, that's my stadium seat. It's in a terrible condition, as you can see, because obviously this is a seat that sat in the sun and rain and weather for God knows how many decades. But that's my seat. It's now occupied by my Pikachu. So yeah, let's see. Let me put it back. Hold on. Oh, and even though I didn't get my mini Camp Nou with the real grass from the Camp Nou, I got this other cool thing. This is a piece of the net of the last net at the Camp Nou. So at least I got this. I didn't get my Camp Nou, but I got my net from the last Camp Nou. So something, right? Anyways, let's see. Where do we leave off? Shahzab says, Mo, nothing can beat the Pepsi commercials during 2010 FIFA World Cup. I feel most of our viewers in the comment section didn't start watching football when that World Cup was on. Man, the Pepsi commercials were some of my favorite parts. Like the Pepsi commercial with all like the old legends, Zidane and Beckham and Ronaldo and Ronaldinho, poof, even Figo, even though F him. But I miss those commercials. I really do. And Saeed says, love, I'm guessing you talk about the seat, but thank you, my friend. That's my pride possession right there. I'm trying to see how I can clean that seat, but every video that I come across, it's like you need a flame torch to do it. And I don't know if I trust myself with a flame torch. But anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your likes, your comments, your subscriptions, your incredibly generous donations. I'm looking at you, Shin. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. And if you want to let me know your thoughts, your opinions about everything we talked about, drop a comment down below. Thank you for tuning in. I think I'm making another video tonight. Yeah, I am. There's more news. I just remembered. So I'll see you guys in that video. And as always, Viscarsa.